Rome, the beating heart of an empire, a city of marble and might, of temples, poets, and politics. In the summer of 64 AD, the city stood tall, its sprawling neighborhoods filled with bustling markets, the clamor of merchants, the rumble of chariots over cobbled roads, and the songs of street performers echoing off stone walls. But beneath its splendor, Rome was a tinderbox. The poor lived in tightly packed wooden homes, stacked upon each other like dried kindling. Flames burned in every kitchen, oil lamps flickered in every room. All it would take was one spark, and the eternal city could be undone in hours. At the helm of this fragile world stood Nero Claudius Caesar Augustus Germanicus, Rome's fifth emperor. Young, charismatic, and controversial. Unlike his predecessors, Nero did not dream of conquest or military glory. No, his passion lay elsewhere. Music, theater, poetry. He saw himself not as a warlord, but as a performer. He took to the stage in flowing robes, playing the lyre, reciting verses he wrote himself, singing with emotion that shocked the Roman elite. To the Senate, he was undignified. To the public, he was fascinating. To himself, he was divine. But while he sang to adoring crowds, Rome held its breath. Whispers of rebellion stirred in the shadows, and the city grew hotter, in more ways than one. In early July, the heat was relentless. The Tiber River shimmered under a burning sun. Tempers flared, bread was scarce, water limited, and everywhere, wood. Wooden beams, wooden staircases, wooden shops squeezed into alleys barely wide enough for a man to walk through. The risk of fire wasn't just known, it was feared. Historians like Tacitus would later say the city was packed so tightly, a fire could leap from one house to the next without touching the ground. But no one expected what came next. On the night of July 18th, in the slums near the Circus Maximus, someone, no one knows who, set flame to a stall, maybe by accident, maybe by design. At first it seemed small, a flicker, a plume of smoke, a few shouts. But then, the wind came. The fire leapt across rooftops like a predator. Within minutes, entire blocks were ablaze. People woke to the sound of walls cracking, roofs collapsing, the roar of flames unlike anything they'd ever known. They ran barefoot into the streets, clutching their children, dragging what little they could carry. But there was nowhere to run. Rome was burning. For 9 days, the inferno raged. 3 of Rome's 14 districts were completely destroyed. 7 more were severely damaged. Temples of the gods, homes of senators, bakeries, taverns, libraries, all lost. Columns turned to ash. Statues melted. The skies above Rome were black with smoke, and the screams of the city's people were swallowed by the roar of fire. Some said the sun disappeared for days. Others said it felt like the end of the world. And amid the flames, a story took shape. A story that would haunt Nero forever. According to the legend, Nero stood on a high balcony, dressed in flowing robes of gold, strumming a lyre, singing of the fall of Troy, as his own city crumbled beneath him. Nero fiddled while Rome burned, the story goes. It became one of the most enduring images in history, a mad emperor delighting in destruction. But was it true, or was it political theater? In fact, Nero was not even in Rome when the fire began. He was at his coastal villa in Antium, over 30 miles away. When the news reached him, he returned immediately, shocked, horrified. He coordinated relief, opened public buildings as shelters, and even threw open the gates of his own gardens to house the homeless. He imported grain to lower food prices. He walked the ruins with his advisors. But truth, in the eyes of history, is often no match for myth, and Rome was hungry for someone to blame. Then came the Domus Aurea, the Golden House, a palace unlike anything Rome had ever seen. Vast gardens, artificial lakes, rotating dining halls, and a colossal golden statue of Nero himself at the entrance. The people stared in awe and horror. This palace was being built where the fire had cleared the land. Was it coincidence or opportunity? Whispers spread that Nero had started the fire himself, that he wanted to rebuild Rome in his own image, calling it Neropolis, that the fire was too convenient, too well-timed. Why had his palace plans been ready so soon after the ruins cooled? The Senate muttered behind closed doors. The people grumbled in breadlines. The mood in Rome darkened once more. To deflect suspicion, Nero turned to a new and unpopular group, the Christians. They worshipped a single god, refused to honor Roman deities, held secret meetings. Nero accused them of arson, and the punishment was swift and brutal. Men, women, and children were arrested, tortured, and killed in public spectacles. Some were sewn into animal skins and torn apart by dogs. Others were dipped in oil, hung on crosses, and set on fire to light Nero's gardens at night. The image of Nero playing the lyre while Rome burned was likely a myth, crafted by his enemies, shaped by historians, and immortalized by time. But myths are powerful, more powerful than truth, and the idea of an emperor dancing amid the ashes of his people was too unforgettable to fade. Nero ruled for 4 more years, but the fire and what followed never left him. The Senate turned against him, the army rebelled, and in 68 AD, abandoned and hunted, Nero fled the city he once ruled. Before taking his own life, his final words were whispered, "What an artist the world loses in me." Was he a tyrant, a misunderstood visionary, a tragic performer in a role too large for him? History may never agree, but one thing is certain: Rome burned, and the name Nero would burn with it forever.